but there are submerged stumps and logs. There are spawning beds established. Through that construction process of rehabilitating the shoreline, we've created an area that you now look down in the water, you can see bass, you can see fish spawning, you can see ducks, and they really just weren't in this location. From the seating area of the boathouse, you can look down into this rejuvenated bay area, and certainly becomes a beautiful view and spot for people to rest and relax. So the boathouse is really one of my favorite spots because it's the core of the park. It's where all the central activity happens, and it's the destination point that'll make the trail system work.
One adversary who really was opposed to this was a columnist. Was a columnist in the Peterborough Examiner called Paul Rex, and now Councillor Rex. And Councillor Rex was not a huge proponent of the park, and had the vehicle of a column that was read quite widely in the Peterborough Examiner. So and could help shape public opinion. And certainly there were those people in the public who sort of said, "What are you spending money down there for? There are other things we should be doing. You know, we should be building, we should be repairing our roads, our walks. We should be, you know, providing housing for the homeless, etc. And all these things we should be doing." But generally speaking, I think there was good support for the park, and we invited the public to sessions when we discussed what did they want in the park. And because, you know, there was some talk of where Canadian Tire came down, you know, it would be wonderful to have condominiums there, people living near the park. Some people wanted a lot of dining in the park, you know, upscale restaurants. Some people wanted parking very close to the park. None of these things really happened because the majority of people sort of wanted a park that was not cluttered by cars, not cluttered by restaurants, and I still think the condo development would have been a great thing, and it might be, because the more people you have living in the core, the better the core is, the more the park will be used. However, that didn't materialize. We will have a very good grocery store there. So, you know, but the public had input into this, and the majority of the public, I think, bought into it as a result. The area behind us here, where we have the silver beam, that is also to double as a performance space. And I think more and more of that will be used. It's also, again, it's a project in process. Right.
That's good.
We know you're there. The park also provides a venue for public art, and of course we have the sculptures. We have some sculptures here. You know, a community can be judged to some extent too by its ambience and by the public art you find in the community. We have some wonderful examples of public art in the city of Peterborough, not least of which is our cenotaph, our war memorial. And there are others down here in the park which are delightful and add to the atmosphere of the park. And that will continue, I think. We have to make sure it doesn't become too cluttered.
This is a lovely spot.
The bear is you know, so, but it's sweeter with the bird. But generally speaking, I think it's respected. I mean, there's the odd bit of vandalism. Some people will decide they wanted a bird, so they got off the bear. But generally speaking, I think the park, the artwork in the park is respected, as the park is. I was only mildly. It wasn't a source of debate really during the debates, but again in the paper and the odd letter and that was saying, oh well, the mayor wasted money, supported this park and could have done other things. But it was a minor thing. I think again, most people, the majority of people in the city supported the park, and I think even some of the critics, it's like everything else. Once it was built and they visited it, the wellness center is another good example of this. Once it's up and running and people actually come and see it and enjoy it, you support it. And it's here for the ages. If you didn't like it, tough, you got it. It does link the trail. It is a critical part of the trail network through the core of the city of Peterborough, and that's a great thing. And as you know, more than any of us, the popularity of trails in this country is growing and growing and growing. Interestingly enough, you're not talking to somebody who walks the trails a lot here. I've walked them in Cornwall and in Yorkshire, and maybe when I retire I'll do them more here. But I enjoy the park nevertheless. I mean, the fact is that everyone can take advantage of this. They can enjoy the art here, they can enjoy the river here, they can enjoy certainly walking along the trail or even roller skating along the trail if they want rollerblading. But certainly the park, as any park does, provides, I think young people too have to be creative in what they do. The venue is here where young people can come and enjoy themselves, use their own creativity, their own imaginations for what they do, and enjoy nature. I mean, I think one of the really critical things we can give young people is the possibility of enjoying a natural environment. And there's all sorts of things you can do that young people shouldn't have their lives organized to the back teeth. There should be, again, an environment in which they can exercise their own creativity and enjoy, and I'd invite them to come down here because it's wonderful. The city grew historically because the river was here, because lumber was here, and the river was used as a commercial entity, and that's what it was, and that's what it remained for well over a century. And that's when I said before, the river was cut off from the core of the city, and the industry had gone pretty well. There used to be where Holiday Inn used to be a packing plant. You could argue whether Holiday Inn should be there or not, but it's a nice place to stay. It's on the river. But I think one thing we always have to be conscious of is Little Lake is not very big. It's a bulge in the river, and not to overdevelop it. No, it was a major. It was a transportation route, the Autonomy River. But by the time the Trent Canal was completed, of course, that function had essentially disappeared because the train had taken over that essential transportation function.
This new head office for Ontario civil servants in the ministry were being relocated to. Part of that development had the same kind of design language as this, in that we tried very hard to establish a framework for the reintroduction of native species into the environment. So the Ministry of Natural Resources area and the planting areas is very similar in this, and we use that as an example to the public to say, is that the kind of environment that we should cross the railway tracks with and introduce into this parkland space? So there was certainly strong agreement with that process. So the Ministry of Natural Resources has a triangular course down the north building, down into the parkland space and onto the trail, and then to the south there's an entrance that comes in just near the rail tracks. Now we did have to deal with the fact that there's a rail line running between